The small liberal arts college of the 70s and the 80s were struggling. Many of them were closing their doors. It was an extremely difficult time. It's an oversimplification, I think, of saying, well, there just weren't enough students. What's the main problem of the small private liberal arts college?
Well, I'm sure the main problem, you know, somebody'd say is money. See, I think money is a means and not an end. So I look beyond money, and some people have criticized me for that. They say I didn't think that was important enough. And you know, money is the big problem. You do have to have money. Now, the only way you're going to get money is to convince people that what you're doing is valuable. And see, I can do that just about as good as anybody can do it. But I'm not good at going out on the cocktail circuit and hobnobbing with the corporate world and so forth. I'm not good at asking for money. And I'm not belittling that. I think that's what college presidents have to do. That's why I said you need a match. But back to your question, you know, people will pay for what they value. And you simply have to convince people that going to La Verne College is valuable and it's worth what you have to pay for it. That's one of the things that I think that, you know, when things get hard times, everybody goes to community college and everybody goes to state college. And so you got to say, what's unique about here? And that's what we had going when I was here was, hey, nobody else could claim to do what we did. Nobody. And I think that that's the answer to that question. You have to go, you know, beyond that too. And I'm also supposed to be a management expert or organizational expert, and I think we waste money. And I can go into any, I think I can go into any college and increase their productivity and decrease their cost. Any college. And it's not easy, but the problem is faculty again and tradition. You know, faculty will just have a cat fit at this, but you know, typical small college, liberal arts, or not that, universities are even worse. But the faculty, there's no accountability. There's no real control. They say, you know, we're prepared, we do our thing, and that's enough. Not true. You don't. Every college wastes a whole lot of money. They have a lot of unproductive people, a lot of unproductive time. Now, for those, every one of those, there's a Bob Neer, and there's a Gladys Muir, and there's a something that nobody ever told them what to do. They were just absolutely the greatest that ever was. Unfortunately, a college cannot attract all those kind of people. So there needs to be some management. Faculty think that academic freedom means total freedom, not just academic freedom. And I think that it takes a real skillful person to bring about change there without alienating them. And I won a few and lost a few when I did that sort of thing. But that's one of the things you asked the question about what colleges need to do. They need to increase the efficiency of their organization and management. And that's going to be a tough task with faculty. And if you want to see the cardinal example of that, go to a place like Stanford or University of California or USC or something like that in the tenure system for faculty, and look at the workload and the research. That's really terrible. You know, I've got a friend, the greatest teacher in the business, just went to work in the university. He's not going to make it to tenure because he isn't going to publish. Now, you can't publish in something that everybody reads. You've got to publish in juried journals in order to become tenured. That means that you've got to do it the way they want you to do it, and in their way. And who are the juries? They're all faculty people that want to preserve their own way of life. And you know, we've forgotten about teaching. So if the liberal arts college, if it has anything to offer, and that's why I would rather this go on doing what a university does, but call it a college. I don't like the university thing because I think it enhances the chance to get bureaucratic, and it takes away the idea of teaching. You know, quality teachers and teaching is you know, Dwight Hannawalt, gee, you know, those kind of people, fine, but you got to put the right people in the right place, and that takes organization. I've spent too much time on that.
No, that's, I wanted to ask you, you were here how many years?
About 7.5 years.
7.5 years. We didn't talk about this before, but, and I don't think I necessarily heard this as a criticism, but just as a statement, and I'd like to have you react to it. Someone said to me that they felt you stayed for your style and what you wanted to do about 2 years too long. Would you agree or disagree with that? And I'm not sure why they said that, because I don't have a background of what you wanted to do.
Oh, I don't know. This is the longest I've ever stayed any place.
Uh-huh. And why would they say that?
Probably.
I can't remember if that was a friend or a critic. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Just.
Well, I wouldn't know either, but I would guess that it would be somebody who was referring to fiscal, financial kinds of things, maybe, rather than the educational. But I think I would tend to agree with them that a person can only really have that fire and zeal and so forth in some particular place. I strongly recommend people move from major executive positions every 5 to 7 years. Because I think their productivity does go down. So whoever that was, friend or foe, I think it's a good thing to look at. I think there could be some credence to that. I think the first 4 or 5 years, the first 3 years that I was here, I think we put this place on the map educationally. As far as high schools and people who would recommend people to colleges and that kind of thing, and people who knew about La Verne College, I would say that increased, I don't know how much, in 3 or 4 years. But I always leave. I need new theaters, new stages to work on.
That was a critical time, and again a time extreme financial difficulties. What could have been done to turn that around, as far as the fiscal problem was concerned?
Well, I don't see that. See, I didn't see that fiscal finance. I think that Armin came in and he needed something to work on, and I think they really hit on the financial aspect of it. I didn't see that as such a problem. They were concerned about the indebtedness with the tent, and that tent, by the way, we were able to do that for 1/3 the cost of what it would have been for if we'd done the whole thing, the crazy tent that they talk about. But you see, they had loans on that, and they felt they had to pay those loans off. And I think that nobody's ever foreclosed on a college. That's absurd. They were putting pressure on to foreclose. Those loans could have been extended, and the thing that put this college into financial was paying off that debt that they had, and they should never have paid it off. You know, I know that I could have because I knew the people that were there. I talked with them. I have letters that would say they would have extended. That may have been a calculated move, though. Put yourself in great debt, then you go out to the people and say, God, we have to have money. And then you can get money. So maybe they felt that was a good way to bottom out. Somebody's strategy. When I left here, I left it. Then I was totally engrossed in making Grossmont Union High School District into the finest district in the country. So but I do, I don't believe that one should come back, but if I was very much concerned about some of the things that happened at La Verne after I left. But I was absolutely ecstatic when Steve Morgan became president.
Tell us what you feel about, a little bit about Steve Morgan, and then I'm going to ask you about the future for the University of La Verne.
Well, Steve was, I think, graduated the year I came in here. And I don't know whether Fosnot had him working as an administrative assistant or something before I got here, whether I did that. I really don't remember. But I know that he was I had him doing a variety of things. He was kind of like a gopher, okay? And, but he was so skillful and so smooth that I would get nervous, and when I had to get up at a banquet and get people or talk to large groups, this guy is, I mean, at 22, the smoothest, most sophisticated, mature guy that I've ever seen in my life. So, man, I had him doing all the things that I didn't like to do. And I got him to the fundraising stuff and all of that sort of thing, and we became very, very good friends. And as I think I mentioned to you, one day I asked him, what do you want to do or be? And he told me, he says, I'd like to be in that chair someday. Mm-hmm. He wanted to be a college president. And I said, Steve, there's absolutely no reason in the world why you can't be in this chair someday. I think that's a good objective, and I'd be delighted to help you with that. So from the time I was here, and we were together here, I just worked to develop that. And then when he left, every time he made a career move, why, he would call me and talk to me about that and whether this would be a good move if he eventually wanted to be president of a college. And so when he made the move to SC and when he made the move up north, that was the best move. When he told me about that possibility of going up there, independent colleges of Northern California or something like that, to be their executive director, I said, Steve, that is absolutely, there isn't a better thing you could do to set yourself up to be a college president. You're going to meet all the future trustees that you're going to get to whatever college you go to. And I think he moved right from that to here, if I'm correct. And he was bred, and what's the other word? Something to be this college's president.
This college's president.
His mother. His mother's mother was my Sunday school teacher.
Grace Miller?
Grace Miller. And his mother was my daughter's second grade teacher. And I was assistant superintendent in Covina. She was a second grade teacher in Covina. And he is just right. He is, but they do need a newcomer to keep pushing out on the growing edges of new and better ways, to keep this place to where people say there is so much value here that it must survive and grow and flourish. The kids have to say that, and people who have lots of money, philanthropists, have to say that. Yeah. Now, there's nobody in the world that's better than Steve at working with that other one. And they need to have somebody that works on the kids part of it. Kids, when they go out of here, and I think they do, they do feel that this is a neat place. Its smallness, it's a good, I hope my grandchildren, I have a granddaughter that I think is going to go here next year. Uh-huh. She's a senior this year? No, she's a Chafee. I think she'll be here and another granddaughter that may be here, and I've got a grandson who applied here but didn't get anything back. I'm going to have to give him a bad time about that. I think they're really pursuing him at Redlands, and I think Redlands may get him instead of here, and I want him to go here. Well, admissions is right around the corner, so we ought to drop in on them. Yeah. Debbie. I think this college is doing beautifully in its working now with the corporate world and with their fundraising and that sort of thing. And I think that it's to continue to survive, because there's a lot of people that are good at that. There's a lot of colleges around. And so it's the survival of the fittest. And there's one thing, the fittest is the one that raises the most money, but the other side of that coin is the one that has the best program. It's like I use when I talk about advertising. If you got a cake of soap, you can put $1 million advertising campaign out and sell a little more soap. But if you really want to sell a lot of soap, you get a damn good product. You know, you get good soap. People say, man, that's good soap. I really like to use that soap. And it goes around that. Then you advertise. The two of those are good. So my advice is just don't ever forget two sides of the coin, you know. You sell the place, you got to have something to sell. And that's, you know, I think everybody's, I think this college is in a good shape for that. It's developed a solid reputation. It just needs to continue to do that. It had its reputation before I came here. It was, and before even Fosnock came here, it was really well known for teacher training. You know, kids who came here were either teachers or preachers.
I remember that.
And it had a reputation. And that wasn't because we had such a good education program, because I don't think we did. But it's because we had good kids. And good kids become good teachers, you know? That's more important than their education, being a good kid. And so then the college has branched out now into a whole variety of things. When Fosnock was here, the business department really branched out and that sort of thing. So it's much more than that. It's a big university now. Somebody's got to be onto those programs all the time, that they're unique, that they're different, they're better. There's something significant about them that makes them different than Oxy, and different than Azusa Pacific, and different than, you know, people rank colleges like this all over the place with a variety of things. They rank them by money, they rank them by prestige. Now prestige it covers a lot of things. Money's a part of prestige. If you've got a huge endowment, that's prestige. But if you've got a lot of graduates that are on Supreme Court judges, or a lot of graduates that made the whatever, you know, then that's good stuff. But you've got to hit, for the new students, your programs now need to have some splash. That's what I used to try to do, and that would be my advice, that in the dean or the director or the head of every one of your doctoral programs is a good example. This doctoral program, which I'm so delighted to have, you know, that was designed in reaction to the stodgy traditional doctoral programs in the state of California. And to show you how accurate my perception was, I'm taking too much credit when I say that, but now it's the largest doctoral program in the state. Bigger than USC. USC dominated that for years and years and years. Now it's the largest. Now, you know, that's a good, it's because it is different. It's solid. It has quality control. Tom Harvey has done an outstanding job with that. Tom Fine and I had the idea and the germ and the thing, and he's refined it and taken it on with a lot of other help too. But that's a perfect example. That's unique and different. All of the programs ought to have the same aura about them. You know, your journalism and I think it's getting that aura, and your the law program, every one needs to have somebody in it that is a developer and promoter. Makes it better, increases the quality of the product. Just don't sell. See what I'm saying? That's the two sides of the coin. There's advertising, which the advertising is a prostitute business. You know, I mean, it's a you know, there's no advertising doesn't do anything, but yet it's a multi-billion-dollar operation. Necessary evil or not? God, I don't know whether I'd say it's necessary. I know it's necessary, and if it's a necessary evil, I believe it is. I guess it's a necessary evil. But it makes a lot of jobs for a lot of people, I guess. Public relations, you see, is another thing. And gee, you can't put down public relations, and Steve is good at that, and this college is doing a good job at it. You've got to do it. All I'm saying is you got to have something to public relate. You've got to have something to publicize. It's got to be a quality program. If I made a mistake when I was the president of the college, I spent too much time on program and not enough time on selling to the corporate world and to the people who had money who could make donations to the college. I sold to the kids. I sold to the parents. I sold to the high school districts and the high school counselors and so forth. And so that's why you need a good combination of the two. And unfortunately, you don't get those in one person. Yeah. So it's good to have different people in the presidency of a college, or it's good to have somebody like Steve who's sharp enough to know that he needs certain kind of people in certain kind of positions and gets them and lets them have their reign.